South India's #1 travel brand. You know you are special when you're with GT Holidays.
Share sweetness and love this festival season with Arya Anand Pavan Sweets and Snacks.
The Mayflower Restaurant, serving comfort food from around the globe.
Hello, Dulquer Salmaan.
Hello, sir.
Welcome to Galatta Plus again. Last time we met was for Chup.
For Chup, yeah.
And that's a performance that I liked and a movie that I liked. And I wish more people had liked it because I really thought it was a very different kind of movie.
Yeah.
But then that bulky zone really works for me, you know.
Same here. Same
Yeah,
here. And he is also somebody who doesn't really care. Like he makes movies to tell his stories. And
Yeah. And
he's
I
not
was like-
calculating.
and I was thinking, you know what? Dulquer's doing some of the best acting of his career, not looking like Dulquer Salmaan. And now you're looking like Dulquer Salmaan again.
Again.
So, how you been? It's been a long time.
It's been a long break. Not a break, as in I've been working and stuff, but the past 2 years I've literally done 2 films, which is, I think, unheard of in my entire career so far.
Right, which is King of Kotha.
King of Kotha and now Lucky Baskhar.
Right, for the two years.
the only
and
two
then
that I've done.
you had some health issues and all that.
I did, yeah. So then I initially signed a bunch of films this year. You know, one of them got cancelled. Something else happened with another one. So then I suddenly didn't have anything else to to do either. And this also got pushed quite a bit here and there, mostly because of me.
Right, and because I remember midway hearing something about this coming out when Goat was going to be released or something like that. There was
Yes, there was a plan in September. Something in August.
Yeah.
And then we were like, no, maybe we just need a nice, clean window.
Right, but the trailers come out and it looks interesting.
Yeah, I think it's worth the wait so far.
Sorry?
I think it's been worth the wait.
It's been worth the wait, yeah. So you have a good buzz about the film.
You know what it is? It's been so long since, and you know, shooting here in Hyderabad is so convenient in the sense, most of this film was shot on sets, right? And so you kind of go in to like an aluminum factory or any of the studios. You shoot, you come back, you're not really interacting with the public. And yesterday, after a really long time, when I went for trailer launch, is when I suddenly saw the public again. And I felt like I was stepping up on stage for the first time after this gap. I was like, I forgot what this feels like. But just so happy. I'm just so glad. And I'm glad that people are loving the trailer. It's great to get that feeling. And you just reminded this is what you work for.
Right, so there is this line in the film that, you know, you can go to any extent for your family.
Right.
How far would you go for your family? Would you commit a crime?
I think we all, when it comes to family, we feel this.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
how far would you go? Like,
But my same family would dictate that I cannot commit any crimes. I've been raised and, you know, sort of lived in that fear of what will people say sort of thing.
what's the worst thing you've done?
What's the word? Definitely traffic crimes. I'm always occasionally in the news for some traffic rule I've broken.
But you're a car person, so...
Yeah, so that's typically where I get in trouble.
Okay.
But that's pretty much, or maybe I've been in a car accident or something like that. That's about it.
Right.
That's the worst I think I've done.
Right. So this health thing was not something very serious, so I hope it was...
I mean, I went through a great ton of pain, but it was nothing like that couldn't be fixed.
Right.
But it just took some time. Yeah.
Like you were in a hospital bed staring at the ceiling kind of...
I had a couple of hospital visits.
Okay.
I had a lot of physio, a lot of needles.
Nice.
I had some invasive stuff also.
Would you kind of say you're kind of entering a zone of your life where aches and pains are going to be part of it?
Yeah, apparently turning 40 is real, and random aches and pains that you never imagined happening to you, and these are things you heard of other people going through. Suddenly, I'm like, oh, now when I bend down, I should probably squat a little bit. You know, and these little tweaks you do to your daily, everydays to prevent any kind of injuries from happening or stretches or whatever. So I am seeing all that, the onset of all that. But I think as soon as you sort of make those tweaks and you now know, you understand your body better, then I'm looking forward to this next decade.
I have seen some stars. They have these caravans, right? And there's a room there for a trainer.
Right.
So they bring their trainer along to the set so that they can do, like in between the endless waiting, they can do like some basic stretches or whatever it is. So just some...
So that's the thing. So now...
do you have that?
I do. I mean, I have a trainer and now it's religiously I make sure I do all of that. But it's... When you're not doing action films, you sometimes tend to think, that's okay. Like, you know, when there's an action sequence, you train for that. Beyond that, every day you're doing weight training or your gym stuff. But sometimes if you're shooting long hours and you start missing that, the rest of the time you're just sitting, and then you get a little complacent about this one thing because you think you're still a 20-year-old or something. Your body's not going to throw up any surprises. So I think now that is something I'm cognizant of.
Right. So,
But like now, without fail, whatever happens, hook or by crook, I'm doing my stretches, I'm doing all of that.
nice. So, there is this big question mark out there
Sure.
around Dulquer Salmaan.
Which is
What is he doing? I'm like, is he ever coming back to Malayalam cinema? Is
That
he,
question,
You
yes.
know that. Is he settling in Telugu cinema? Does he have pan-Indian domination plans? What is this guy doing?
no, not at all. I see a lot of the times when films happen or when they go on the floors or when they release, none of these are in my control. None of us actors. And of course, if you are only in one industry, everybody kind of knows what you're doing next or what you're working on or why it's delayed and etc. etc. I think because I'm everywhere, nobody really knows what I'm doing next, which I've also kind of started to secretly enjoy. I like this mystery of what I'm doing next.
International man of mystery.
International man of mystery. But also, I mean, obviously, Malayalam is always a priority. I've heard at least 3 or 4 great scripts, great ideas, but they're all still getting fleshed out. That also sometimes happens. It's not every day you get bound scripts. So some of those are being worked on. So now I'm just like, whoever's ready, I'm going to go on the floors. So right now I'm working on Kanta, which is in Tamil.
Yeah.
Which is something I'm very...
Which is the Rana
Rana and me are producing it together.
Yeah.
He's also in the film. Samudrakani sir is doing a really amazing role in the film. We have Bhagyashree Borse, who's, I think, this is the second film that she's doing. I think it could be a very special film.
Can you tell us anything about it? Or?
It's kind of set in the 50s. It has a bit of a film as movies as the backdrop, and it's got great drama. But it is so much discovery for me as an actor, for all of us making the film, for Selva, the director. Danny Sanchez is shooting it, who shot Mahanati and Virata Parvam and stuff. But even for him, I think there's a lot of novelty in this film. But yeah, it's something I think we're all really kicked about.
And that's a Tamil film.
It's a Tamil film. It's
like there's
pure
no-
Tamil, that older Tamil. We might dub it in Telugu.
Right.
But we're almost 40% complete. I think by the end of next month, we should hopefully wrap.
Right. So we'll start seeing more Dulquer films.
This is the plan now. So now I'm like, who's ready? I'm shooting. So
Okay.
There is a couple of Telugu films that I've liked. One more Tamil, about 3, 4 Malayalam.
No, about Malayalam films, this year has been a great year.
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal year. But we all know that there's a bit of law of averages also, because sometimes movies, the release schedule happens in such a way that a bunch of good movies just come together.
Sure.
And then suddenly there's like a drought. It's in every industry. It just happens.
Yeah.
Right? Now, when you, is one way to combat this for an actor to do what, let's say, your dad or Mohanlal did, which is to keep doing films? Or is that model outdated? Because they were like doing 15, 16, 20 films a year, right? It's like, is that something that we can do today?
I don't know if we can do it at the pace that they did it. And also now, I find it a little tricky in the sense, ever since the whole onset of OTT, if your frequency is too high, then they're not going to watch every film of yours.
Okay.
I feel like
They didn't watch every film of...
I think they did. I think the audience did. Yeah.
Okay.
I think there was
Because there's nothing else.
There'll be one Onam where Dad will have 4 releases, but they watched it. They picked whichever ones they liked the most and repeat. We would watch that, I suppose. But this is my take. It could be, it's very personal. It could be wrong, right, whatever. Again, I feel like Dad, Lal sir, all of them all like to constantly wrap a film today, start the next tomorrow, which is also great. I think that's best for the industry as well. But I'm a little, my personal take is, when there's a bit of a wait for your film, that's good. Secondly, there is a certain choice that people now have. This film I'll go to the cinemas for. This film I'll wait for it to come on OTT. I think that is also something I'm a little aware of. But also because I work in multiple industries, I feel like the size of films I do in each industry might be a little different. Like in Hindi, I don't mind doing smaller stuff, quick, because I don't have too much time.
Right.
But in Malayalam, I feel like because we anyway have enough small and medium in terms of scale, I want to attempt slightly bigger films. So it's a theatrical experience. This is my present thinking. It could change.
Right. So you brought up OTT, right? There
Yeah.
was one theory floating around. I'm talking about this International Man of Mystery, that thing, right?
Yeah, which is-
So there was one theory floating around that the reason Dulquer is not doing Malayalam films is because the OTT market there is not great, and therefore it's difficult to do bigger films, whereas it's easier to do bigger films in other languages.
Yeah, but it's not like I'm doing the biggest films in Telugu either. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still,
Well, Sita Ramam was kind of big.
that is, I think, Swapna, that's gumption and guts.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters who is acting.
I think the movie's still like playing in my eyes. It's like it's just one of the most gorgeous things I've ever seen.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, that I can't live off that past glory. I need to kind of do new things and create even better, bigger cinema. But it's not a scale thing or a size thing. I'm like, there has to be something that we need to draw the audiences to cinemas. So there has to be either something very novel, it should be either high concept or else maybe something in terms of scale. But whatever it is, I'm not able to find films that happen in like 50 days. They all seem to take time.
They always take time. And it always happens.
I don't know why. And my dad doesn't understand it. He's like, I see him start a film. When I finish a sked of my movie, he's done with that film. And then he takes like a week, 10 days break to travel. And then he comes back and starts the next film.
Right.
And in the time that I've shot Lucky Baskhar, I think he's had some 4 releases. He's shot some 3 movies, 4 movies. So I really have no words. I just sit there and I'm like, so whatever he says.
But you ask him, what, tell me what.
But you know what it is? I think we're too, as actors, we are, not even as actors, as people, we're different. Now, if my dad or Rajnikant sir comes to set and they sit on set, not go into the vanity, everyone's a little on edge, and things will speed up, and they will be on their toes, and they can speed things up. I don't think anybody cares when I'm on set because I'm generally extremely patient, and I'm like, oh, I do everything for my film. Oh, it needs extra time. Okay, we should find extra time. Oh, this is where I think is a weakness, problem area. I don't know, but I'm always like very result oriented. Like the end film has to be great. So for that, I'll sacrifice anything.
Right. Do you think maybe that quest for perfection is kind of
causing
because
delays?
there's never something that's totally perfect,
sure,
right?
yeah.
I mean, could that be slowing you down a bit?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Like my family tells me, you need to start detaching yourself a little bit. You can't try and fix everything. You can't try and put out the perfect film. It never happens. And also, it's an art form. You can put the perfect film out there, and subjectively, people might not just take to it. But I don't know how to just be like, I've done my job now. I can't.
Meenakshichaudhary, who's your heroine in Lucky Baskhar, she said that Dulquer Salmaan always listens to what other people has to say, and he's got a lot of patience, which kind of comes back to what you're saying.
Okay, I think she means I'm a good listener, but not that I don't.
As a listener, yeah.
Yeah, yes. Otherwise, I was like, I don't have opinions of my own. No, I think it's also. I have just excuse my voice today. I've always been super curious about stories, right, from a young age. In school, my favorite subjects are always literature, so I love reading books. I love stories, and if I meet someone, I typically know their whole life story. That is just how I am. Like I like asking questions. I'm curious. I want to know. So I see a lot of people sharing, their life stories with me, and I think that it could
Was
stem.
it just friends or anybody?
If I'm sitting on a set, like if it's
Right.
and you sit around waiting a lot, and I think I'm always on asking questions because I'm genuinely curious. I think so. This listener quality probably stems from that. But I think of late that people have started saying it, but it's not something I've ever.
But this is the first time I'm hearing somebody say this at a public function that
I'm a good
somebody's
listener.
great listener. I'm like, that's a nice quality to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's.
It sounds.
But
it's
I
in a
think
psychological zone rather than an acting zone.
It's a very story curious kind of thing.
Right.
And also, the beauty of the film industry is that people come from all backgrounds, different corners of the country. And I think that also makes me curious. Like, I know my life. I know how I lived. I know I've had a certain privilege. And I find a lot of inspiring stories in a lot of actors I work with, where they come from, the struggles they've gone through. And then you also see that, they're kind of smiling through all this, but have seen a lot more adversity than I ever have.
Right. But if the same thing was applied back to you, like supposing I was sitting right next to you and say, hey, Dulquer, come on, tell me a story. How open would you be?
I think I'm pretty.
Would you hide certain bits?
No, I'm pretty open, I think.
Okay.
Which is why nowadays when we do these promotions, I'm like, God, I don't really have new stories to tell. I think I've shared so much already. So those are things I kind of. But I think I'm quite open. I do like to speak as well, not just listen. I'm also sharing, and that's healthy.
Yeah. So you mentioned, we talked about this quest for perfection, right? Mm-hmm. Like in your body of work over these many years, what are some of the films that you think have come closest to perfection?
So I wouldn't say it's perfection, but a lot of the times,
close.
Maybe it's exceeded what I.
Right.
See, a lot of the times it's what I see in my head when I hear a script, and the times that I get surprised, where it's a lot of the times I feel like I saw something, they see something else, but I feel like Bangalore Days, Ustad Hotel, all of the big highlight films. I remember Kannum Kannum Kolledutha, complete newcomer director, very young cast and crew. I didn't expect it to turn out the way it did. I heard it was a great narration. I was like, wow. But you're not expecting that boy to deliver that narration. And that film was in gestation for a long time. He kept tweaking the crimes and the scams so they're relevant and present. So I thought that was interesting. But still, nothing sort of prepared me for release day. And I remember that way exceeded my expectations. Sitaramam exceeded my expectations. And like, for example, the background score of Sitaramam, you don't hear it when you hear a narration, right? You know a story, you can imagine a cast. Even when I'm hearing a narration, I'm like, can you give me a wish list cast, something, so I can visualize the film? But music is something you're never prepared for. So that really, and these are films that I have been allowed to maybe partake in watching the edit, and I've dubbed them in many languages. And for someone who's seen it inside out like that to finally on release day still be surprised, that I think is huge.
Yeah, and also something like Sitaramam is like, however, even if somebody says, well, we're doing it on a grand scale or whatever it is, when you actually see it, it's still, you can't.
So every day on that set, every time I see a new, I don't know who's playing every other character. Like I knew maybe Mrunal's character or Sumanthana's character. I knew the few people in my sort of world. But every other day, suddenly there's like a Gautam Menon, suddenly there's a Prakash Raj, suddenly there's Sachin Kedekar, and I'm like, wow, like every day, Murli Sharma. And it's not like I've watched a lot of Telugu films, but like I've seen some of the big important ones, and I see all these actors in those films. Or Venla Kishore, and suddenly I'm seeing all of them like, wait, they're setting this up, or they are casting it like, a fairly big star-driven film in Telugu. So that would excite me on a daily basis, and I'm shooting alongside these people or bouncing off them in scenes. But that's again, I fully credit Swapna and Hanu for that.
Yeah. So, Lucky Bhaskar, let's talk about Dulquer first.
Sure.
What is your take on luck?
I think I'm one of the really blessed, lucky.
You believe in luck?
I believe I'm very fortunate. I don't have this, finding a dollar bill or like a lottery win or at a casino. I don't have that luck. I've never had it. I don't even attempt any of those things. But I am evidently very blessed, I think, to just be born to my parents or like have everything I have in life, these opportunities. Even a lot of my acting career I feel like a lot of luck that has come my way in some way or the other, I feel like an OK Karmani and a Manisar opened so many other doors from different languages. I don't think at that time people were thinking of casting actors from other industries. I think I was introduced to a lot of other industries thanks to maybe that one film.
Did you ask him, like, why did you cast me?
Did I ask him? I think you're just so grateful at that point to be cast. I'm not in that. Why me is not.
Not why me, but as in like, if you don't mind, do you?
I don't even think I was maybe the first choice of that film. I think.
Okay.
See, a lot of the times that's what happens, right? You're trying, now as a producer, I get it. Like we approach, or when you hear a script or you conceive put together a film, there are some obvious choices that come to your head. And then you go to them, and then for whatever reason that doesn't work out, it could be dates, it could be that they didn't like the film, it could be anything. And then you go, and then every film kind of finds its actors and finds its time for shoot, finds its time for release. So many things that I think just, I think films have this amazing destiny that they figure themselves, that nothing else can kind of.
Right.
So I feel like that's probably how I came into that film as well.
No, and I think that's like, I think those two words are kind of interchangeable for many people, luck and destiny, right? It's like they're kind of, because you kind of step outside Malayalam cinema for the first time for Vayamudi Pesavam.
Yes.
Even though it was made in Malayalam as well.
And shot Munnar fully. And shot completely in Munnar.
Munnar, yeah. So you step out of that, and then I think you do OKK.
Yeah.
And then you end up in Mahanati.
Yes.
That's your first Telugu film.
First Telugu film.
And then...
The same year I did Kathiravan as well.
Yeah.
Which is also fully shot in Ooty and Kochi. This doesn't feel like a Hindi film.
And then you end up with Sitaramam, and then you end up with all these...
I don't know. So if you told me in 2011 when my big questions in my head are like, will they be able to watch me for 2 hours? Can I engage and entertain the audience for 2 hours? I might get this first chance thanks to being, my dad's son. So many questions in my head, and I was that very actor full of fear. And that's, as an actor, to be fearless, and to be not afraid of the camera, and I'm always like, oh my God, am I really do I really deserve to be here? I need to make the most of every opportunity. Oh my God, every take has to be okay. And so much energy went into thinking of giving the best take that I don't think I could ever focus on what I was feeling or performing. So I think my first few films today, when I look back, I'm like, oh, what have I done?
You don't like what you did in Ustad Hotel?
Ustad a little more, because I think I knew who that kind of guy was. I think Anwar Ka had so much clarity on that.
Right.
But still, it was nerve-wracking for me, because I'm just like, there's Thilagan sir, and there's all these amazing actors, and there's Anwar Rashid directing, and I'm like, what if I stick out like a sore thumb? Like, what if I'm the worst thing about this film? These are my fears. Which over time is, you kind of overcome it. Again, lost my train of thought. What were we discussing?
Like, we're talking about the fear.
Yeah, so I mean, that's still there, I think, some days.
So when you, but it's not like you're going in front of a camera and saying, like, suddenly, like how would my dad do it? You're not doing that, right?
No.
Right.
We were two different people. Like I keep saying, I don't ever even try to do or be him in any which way. And I think and that's been the best thing that I could do to myself.
Right.
Just to find my kind of cinema, to keep growing as an actor. I've always wanted to just be better than myself, better than my last film, better than. And today, like when I'm doing a Kanta, it's so rewarding in the sense that I can fully dive into that character. I can fully focus on what he's feeling, these beautiful lines that I have, and there are people today that kind of take me seriously as an actor, and I was like, wow, I didn't think that day would come.
Right. So when you did Kamati Param, right? Mm-hmm. I think that was probably the first time that you stepped out of the DQ zone, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure. I mean, I think even like a second show was kind of in that space, but made by a very young crew.
Right.
Kamati Param, you're working with.
Right, but this was a bigger, like
Yeah.
And it was suddenly like, and by that time you had also gotten more of a reputation.
Correct.
Right. So you were like, oh, DQs and
in
this
film.
kind of a thing. How was it getting there?
Loved it. I loved. I mean, we all. I'm sure there's. As actors, we want to be loved and popular and famous and successful and all these things. But there is so much love for the art of cinema and performing and being an artist. And I think some films really let you explore that. And I feel like Comedy Padam for me was that in such a incredible way, because you're working with whether it's a Vinayakan Chetan or a Maniyan Chetan, they know that place and time and land, and I just had to literally bounce off them. I could to be one of them. They would give me inputs in terms of phrases I'm using or words. I call them. We don't really ever say Gangeda is how I call Vinayakan Chetan, because you will always be like, typically you'll say it opposite. You'll say Eda Gange, like that. So that's something which he said, call me like this. I feel like this is something it was very common those days, and that one thing itself gave me so much. So every time I call him, there is a little tonality to it which gave it, which rooted there in that place and time. And the shoot experience of that film was so unique. I've never had one like that before or after. A lot of the days, our lines would be little stubs of paper that maybe the editor, who's like in a little lungi and his glasses, and he's there, and like, oh, lines for today, and they're like, yeah, so this is kind of what we're all going to be saying, and this is the sequence, this is the scene. Now you all figure it out, right? And then there'll be 4 of us actors, and we'll get a framework of the scene, and they'll be like, hey, I'll come in and I'll say this, and then the second actor will be like, okay, then I'll say this in response. And the third guy, no, you don't say this. What if I say this? Then you can interject and say this, and like this you'll arrive at something, but it'll be so real.
Yeah.
Like people interacting without written dialogue. Like how you think is what you say, how would you speak. Then the only thing to tweak was maybe language or accent or something.
And that's typically not how movies are made. So would you say that was the first film where you kind of discovered yourself as an actor? Or would that be somewhere earlier?
I think there's definitely a lot of discovery. And the first couple of films, you're really breaking into this medium, which you don't know at all. I mean, I've made short films. I understand everything from behind.
Right, and you also mentioned that let's say Ustad Hotel, you said that the character was kind of close to you.
Yeah, someone I know.
It was not totally
relatable.
So which would you say the first thing that broke you and said, oh,
I did a short segment in Anju Sundarigal, which I thought was very interesting. I don't have a single line in the film, but I'm the narrator of the story. And that comes later in dub. But when we were shooting it, I had nothing. I thought that was an interesting exercise. But yeah, the Comedy Padam definitely did break the mold for me a lot. Wherein somebody could see or take the risk of casting me in something so rooted. We attempted something like that in Nyan, but it was again very vintage Malayalam that was very alien to me at that time, which I think today I might be a little more familiar with it.
right.
Then it's always the challenges of, I think Gemini was challenging. That too, Gemini in Telugu was challenging. So it's always those things where I feel like if you're really freaking out or scared of a role or a film, you put so much effort into getting it right that you don't have time for fear. And I think that's when maybe the best
The
performances
good
come
stuff
out.
happens. Yeah.
South India's #1 travel brand. You know you are special when you're with GT Holidays.
Share sweetness and love this festival season with Arya Anand Pavan Sweets and Snacks.
The Mayflower Restaurant, serving comfort food from around the globe.